What is psychology? Any briefly anyone can tell psychology?
Mental status of a person.
Mental status of person. It is related to mental status. Yes. Next.
Related to mind.
Related to mind. Yes. Or next. Anyone? So today's topic is educational psychology. So before this, in our course BMS course curriculum, whether you heard about psychology or anyone read or know about this psychology in our subject, connect with our subjects, any specific subject में आप psychology का बारे में पढ़ा है अभी तक? हेलो हेलो
In Kaya Chikitsa Manasa Roga Mana.
Yes. We studied psychology or medical psychology in our in Kaya Chikitsa subject, related moreover related to disease. What are the disease pathology or what are the problems related with the this mind and behavior, so etc. So we are talking about psychology that is related to more related to behavior, human behavior, study of human behavior and personality, etc. So this type of discipline, psychological concept, are we studied or not, or it is already there in the one of the subject of our BMS UG. So if you know that basic things, so education psychology is very easy for understanding. So today I will start this educational psychology. So the points here are the education psychology as a discipline, role of educational psychology, learning and teaching today. So cognitive development, brain cognitive development, guidelines to teaching, the Piaget's theory of cognitive development, Vygotsky sociocultural perspective, and this Bruniferan social context, self-moral development. So all of these concepts we will learn later on, but before that we have to make the point that today's topic is educational psychology. So if you search in online or if you search in any resources, there is a very less literature or textbook notes is available regarding this topic, educational psychology. Why? Because this topic itself is a combination of education is a individual discipline and psychology is itself is a branch, or it is also one of the separate discipline. So psychology is a discipline which majorly deals with human behavior. So education, as we know, what is the education, what is the teaching, learning, what is the methodologies, learning. So moreover, the education concept or depend on this psychology. Knowingly, unknowingly, we are learned lot of concept of education, teaching, learning, characters. So every concepts or things directly or indirectly depend on the psychology. So that's why nowadays this education psychology, it is a, they have made this separate discipline. The education psychology is a separate discipline. That is the first point in the syllabus. That is educational psychology. What you seeing, this is educational psychology as a discipline. They have made that the education psychology as a particular discipline. In this discipline, they are extensively studying the psychology related to specially for educational system. That is the education psychology as a discipline. So before understanding this, we should know what is psychology in detail. So what is psychology? So without understanding psychology, we don't understand what is educational psychology, because it is the basic, it is itself a separate discipline, psychology. So initially the psychology was considered as science of, initial days में क्या करता था, when the concept was started, the psychology, what is psychology? Psychology is a study of soul. Some scholars told that psychology is a study of soul. It is a study of soul. Then after some times, some scholars told that psychology is a science of mind. And after some times, the thinking process was changed, that some scholars known that the psychology is study of consciousness. Spellings may be somewhat wrong, so don't focus on spellings. So just I'm telling the concept. The initial concept or initial thinking of psychology is science of soul. Later on, they believe that the psychology is a science of mind. Then later on, they think that psychology is a science of consciousness. But after these theories or after this understanding also, the proper knowledge is not arrived. If you explain psychology as a soul, so different questions are arising. So they can't justify psychology as a science of soul. Then if they also explain the psychology as a science of mind, then also certain questions arise, then the justification will not happen. Then the psychology is studied, tell that conscious, science of conscious, then also lot of questions and other things are arise, and the justification will not happen. So what are the questions arise? How? So that is in detail as a philosophy. Just you have to remember the initial concept are psychology as a soul, psychology as a mind, psychology as conscious. But now newer concept, as science grows, the psychology is understand as the psychology is the study of behavior. So psychology most deals with behavior, study of behavior, that is human behavior. As we are studying in the human, this is the human behavior. So up to this, all of you understood what is psychology, background of psychology.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So psychology means human behavior, study of human behavior. So to understand this human behavior, we have to understand with background of society. So because this behavior is influenced by a lot of other things. So that's why it is very essential to understand in the background of social context. Psychology should be initially understand by the social context. So in Swastarutta, that is PSM subject, one of the topic called social science, medicine and social science. All of you heard about this chapter, medicine and social science. So this is most important chapter. If you know this chapter, you can connect it with education. It is a medical and social science majorly focused and used for the health, understanding the health. हेल्थ का बारे में समझने के लिए ये टॉपिक है हमारे लिए, मेडिसिन एंड सोशल साइंस. बट द सोशल साइंस कॉन्सेप्ट and psychology concept, if you read from this particular chapter, you can also apply that same psychological concept in the education, because moreover psychology concepts are same in every discipline. If you apply this psychology in the medical field, that is medical psychology. If you applied this psychology in politics, that is political psychology. If you applied this psychological principles in education, that is educational psychology. So what I mean to tell you that if you know the psychology properly, basically, then the applied aspect of this psychology, that is educational psychology, is not more difficult, and you can easily understand educational psychology. If you directly start reading this context, educational psychology, it is more difficult to understand. You can understand, but clear picture will not available. That's why I have chosen this chapter for today's session. After this session, if you go through any textbook, any content, you can easily understand what is educational psychology. So now we will start the this particular chapter. All of you visible? The lines are visible, or I can zoom more? Whether the number size of text is proper or it is very small to visible?
It's visible, sir.
Yes, it's okay. This much zoom, or I can enlarge somewhat high. Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's also okay.
Okay. So first, we have to start with certain points. I will tell. These particular chapter, actually, we are studying in the intention to understand the psychology in applying in the education. But these chapter concepts are here in this textbook explained in the perspective of health medicine में this psychology or social science कैसे apply होता है. In that context, they have explained. So while I am explaining here the medical context, health context में example or sentence आता है, then we can understand in this context also and apply that same principle in the educational psychology also. If I am telling any medical related concept, you can correlate or apply that in the education also. So both are correct. But here they have explained as a medical related examples, medical related things. So we can apply same concept in the educational psychology also. So we will learn both this medicine and social science in health and education. So both are important for us. So understanding this concept will very much needed in practice and teaching also. So first, the term social sciences. Social sciences refers to a composite of several disciplines. A social sciences is a composite of several disciplines. Disciplines like anthropology, economics, political science, psychology, sociology. So all these disciplines combine the term social science comprises these individual disciplines. In general, these disciplines contribute to our understanding of society and human behavior. So these disciplines usually helps for understanding the society, what is society, and human behavior समझने के लिए this anthropology, economics, political science, psychology, sociology will help to understand the society, and what is human behavior. The social sciences relevant to medicine or psychology and sociology. Even though this economics, political science are also help to understand the society and human behavior, but the disciplines, sciences relevant to medicine is this psychology and sociology. Even in education also, to understanding the education psychology also, we need these both psychology and sociology. So these are two disciplines. They will help us to understand the human behavior and society, especially as these sciences are relevant to medicine, also relevant to the education. If you know the psychology and sociology disciplines, then you can easily understand the usage of this psychology in the health and usage of this psychology in the education also. So समझ में आ गया आपको ये पॉइंट? What is social science is a group of disciplines. इसमें psychology, political science, economics. So these disciplines or subjects are help to us for understanding the society and human behavior. But what are the subjects or discipline related to us are psychology and sociology. These two are more related to us. So today we will elaborate these two, psychology and sociology. Then after that you can read, if you are interested, social context of medicine, everything. What are context apply? We can apply both in education and health. That concept only I will explain. So next, social and behavioral sciences. Medicine and social sciences are considered in their own special way with human behavior. The term social sciences is applied to those disciplines which are committed to the scientific examination of human behavior. सोशल साइंस कौन सा डिसिप्लिन, कौन सा सब्जेक्ट को हम कह सकता है? सो दे आर कमिटेड फॉर एग्जामिनेशन ऑफ human behavior. For example, politics science, so economics, so they are also helping to study the examine the human behavior. So we can also call them call that subjects also social sciences. Social sciences is applied to those disciplines which are committed to scientific examination of human behavior. But these like economics, political science, sociology, social psychology, and social anthropology, these disciplines are used for the or committed for the scientific examination of the human behavior. Among these, the term behavioral sciences is applied to last three, that is sociology, social psychology, and social anthropology. Even though this political science, economics are help to understand human behavior, the major focus of behavioral sciences, human behavior related disciplines are the sociology, social psychology, and anthropology. These three disciplines directly measures the human behavior. So that's why these three are more relevant to the study the behavioral sciences in the this context. So to study the human behavioral science, you can't use political science. In political science, it will help to measure or examine the human behavior. It is not directly giving the idea of human behavior. That's why the proper disciplines which measure the behavioral science or human behavior, that's why they are called as behavioral science, are sociology, psychology, and social anthropology. These are three disciplines which measures the human behavior directly because they deal directly with the human behavior. Each of these disciplines, while sharing major goals of social science, that is scientific examination of human, deals with specific aspect of public health in study of man. Even though all these social science are helpful for the examination of human behavior, sociology, social psychology, and social anthropology are the important disciplines because they deal directly with the human behavior. So up to this, all of you understood what is the concept? Any doubt with this? अगर कुछ भी डाउट है आप इधर ही क्लियर करो, आगे जाते जाते इट विल बी कंफ्यूज्ड वन.
Clear, sir.
एनी डाउट अप टू दिस? सोशल साइंसेस क्या किसको कह सकते हैं हम? डिसिप्लिन्स व्हिच मेजर्स आर हेल्प टू अंडरस्टैंड द सोसाइटी एंड ह्यूमन बिहेवियर. So political science, economic, these social psychology, anthropology are all together we called as a social sciences. Among these, the sociology, social psychology, social anthropology are considered as behavioral sciences because they deal directly with the human behavior. That's why these three are important: sociology, social psychology, and social anthropology. So because they directly measures the human behavior. Up to this, all of you clear?
Yes, sir.
So rest of thing you can study yourself. Just concept which are related both medicine and education. That concept only I am explaining here. So next one is social structure. Social structure. What is social structure? Social structure refers to the pattern of interrelation between persons. Every society has a social structure, complex of major institutions, groups, power structure, and hierarchy. The study of social structure is comparable to study of anatomy. It is social organization data physiology. They have compared the subject like anatomy and physiology. So social structure, if you study, that is like anatomy. They have given similar. This is not. We have to know what is social structure. A pattern of interrelations between persons. The study of society, social structure is the concept under the social structure. What type of the structure will be there in the social structure refers to the pattern of interrelations between the persons. So interrelation between the persons is called as social structure. Next, social institutions. So what are the social institution? Is a organized complex pattern of behavior in which the number of persons participate in order to further group of interest. The family, the school, the church, club, hospital, political parties, professional associations, panchayat, all are social institutions. Within each institution, the rights and duties of the members are defined. What is mean this? What are the social institution? The organized organization. The institution is an organized complex pattern of behavior in which number of persons participate. So why this concept is important in education? The school is also social institute. One of the examples: school, college, these all are social institute because these are organized complex pattern of the behavior. So the term wherever the behavior comes, wherever so the social comes, then you can correlate these things with the education psychology. So these key terms: behavior, society, or social world, and this psychology. Three, if you have three keywords, then you can correlate that concept with the education. The behavior, why this concept is important? Social institution. We are dealing with the education psychology. The school, college, whatever place where the teaching learning will happen, that is the institution, comes under the social institution. In any book they have written social institution means you have to understand the social institution is an organized complex pattern of behavior in which number of persons participate in order to further group interest. Example: family हो सकता है, school हो सकता है, hospital हो सकता है, political parties हो सकता है. So these are called social institutes. The next, socialization. What is socialization? Every society has its beliefs, customs, traditions, and prejudices. So a man acquires these in his everyday social interaction with people of society. This is called as socialization, or the process by which an individual gradually acquires culture and becomes the member of a social group. This process is we called as a socialization. Example, children's going to school is an instance of socialization. The internship training program of doctors is another example. It gives them the opportunity to learn how to become acceptable to the public at large at doctors. So socialization means the man acquires, it is a process in which an individual acquires culture and becomes the member of that social group. So socialization is important in education also. The child is going to school and that accept the culture of that school, then that is the example of socialization. That is the concept of socialization. So acquiring the cultures gradually and becoming the member of that particular type of environment is called as a socialization. So even when you go to the internship, that is also socialization. That particular uh, uh, internee will acquire the culture of that becoming the doctor. That is the also example of socialization. So acquire culture and become the member of that social group. So this, if you understand what is socialization, it is also helpful in the education concept. So socialization is important. So next one is occultation. Occultation means culture contact. When there is a contact between two people with different type of culture, there is a diffusion of culture both ways. Both ways में culture diffusion हो सकता है. Then there are various ways by which culture context takes place. First one is trade and commerce, industrialization, propagation of religion, education, conquest. So these are the various ways where the occultation will happen. If you are doing the trade and commerce, then also the different cultures will be diffused in both ways. For example, Britishers came into India and their culture and our culture mixed. Some culture of Britishers we are following, some culture or thoughts are also mixed with them. That is the occultation. Next, for example, here the British brought their culture into India through conquest. So conquest mode way say Britishers. So this is the one of the way how the culture of Britishers has mixed with the India. Then an Indian said to be a next best Englishman. This is the example. It is because of culture contact. So a lot of influences happened because of that Britishers. Then our culture is mixed. That one we called as a acculturation. Then it is because of cultural contact. It has both good and bad aspects. The introduction of scientific medicine is through the culture contact. Introduction of medicine is also the other. This modern medicine is also come into India because of this culture contact. The changes in food habits of people is brought about the through culture contact. So because of this culture contact only, the food habits are also changing in the Indian context. We are because of we are simply following this eating this pizza, burger. This food habit is also because of culture contact. Culture contact is diffusion of this a different type of culture in both sides. Then wide use of tobacco all over the world is because of culture contact. The radio, television, cinema have been important factor in shaping the culture behavior pattern of the people. So these are the examples of occultation. So come to these particular things. We are interested now in education. So in education also acculturation will happen. So here specifically they have given one example. Many Orthodox Brahmins in India today eat meat. So because of acculturation, because of mixing both other cultures in our cultures, it will happen. Acculturation will happen in these ways, whether trade and commerce, industrialization, propagation of religion, and education and conquest. So we are interested. It is education is also one of the way for acculturation. Different culture, different things we will uh, mix, or uh, uh, we will diffuse with other cultures in the way of education also. This is the concept I want to highlight. So just you have to remember what is acculturation, what is the importance in education. In education में भी acculturation हो सकते. For example, आप अलग अलग इंस्टीट्यूशन में पढ़ा रहे हैं, तो दूसरा स्टेट में जा रहे हैं, एजुकेशन सिस्टम में भी आप जा रहे हैं, so then also you will mix the culture of that state, that country. So education is also one of the way of acculturation. So that's why it is important. Whether any Indian student goes to the foreign, then his culture will be mixed, foreign culture and Indian culture. That is the acculturation. It will happen in the both sides. If they people comes to here, they will also accept, or it will happens naturally. That is the different type of cultures will diffuse in the both ways. The ways are, if you are going for the trading purpose, then also the culture exchange will happen. Industrialization purpose, propagation of religious, any religious matters, conversion. So everything that is also one of the way of the acculturation. But we are now interested in the education. What is the importance? Education is also brings the acculturation. It is also one of the way in the acculturation. So you can simply read these things. These are related to health, and it may help for you understanding the other social concepts. So now we will move on psychology. Up to this background, what is social, what is things, all of you understood? Before starting this psychology, it is some basic background should be needed to understand the psychology. So that's why I have explained these things. Whether you understood what is a brief idea about this sociology, what is behavior, why it is important, social structure, all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we will start psychology. Psychology is as Psychology is defined as study of human behavior, of how people behave and why they behave in just the way they do. So psychology is defined as the study of human behavior and how people behave, why they behave in the way they do. So studying of human people's behave and why they behave like that. So that is called as psychology. Psychology is a study of human behavior and why they behave like that. That is the psychology. It concerned with individual, his personality and behavior. Psychology is concerned with the personality and behavior. So knowledge of psychology is essential to know others better, to differentiate between normal and abnormal, to understand the attitudes, beliefs, learning, memory process, and help to promote mental health in the individuals and families. So study of psychology, why it is essential? It is essential because to know different peoples, know others better, and difference to make a difference between whether this behavior is normal or abnormal, to understand the one's attitudes, beliefs, learning. So everything is depends on the psychology. Psychology is concerned with the personality and behavior. So if you are talking about psychology, then indirectly you are seeing the personality and behavior. Then it also promote the mental health, and it this sentence in the context of health, because we are studying in the health textbook. So you can also take it as a education. It helps in understanding the educational process also. Education process also, it will help. So it help to understand the educational system. So all of you understood what is the definition of psychology, what is exactly psychology. Psychology is not a study of mental diseases. Psychology is not a study of only studying the mind, only studying the character. It is a human behavior, study of behavior, why the people will behave like this. That is the psychology. So we will know next. We will know the what in detail about this behavior, what behavior comprises, everything. Up to this psychology का definition समझ में आ गया आपको?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Then scope of psychology. Psychology is a vast in scope. Means if you apply this psychology concept in different disciplines, as I earlier explained, political psychology, in medical field, medical psychology, education psychology. So in criminology, criminal psychology, in judicial psychology. So if you you can use this psychology concept in every discipline and in different manner. That's why the psychology is in its vast scope, as indicated by the numerous branches of psychology. That is normal psychology, abnormal psychology, educational psychology, social psychology, child psychology, applied psychology, psychoanalysis, medical psychology, etc. Here they have explained about medical psychology. Medical psychology deals with patients suffering from disorders of mind. मेडिकल साइकोलॉजी में हम क्या करते हैं यूजुअली? Disease, disorders of mind, and persons trained in the medicine and psychology are called psychiatrists. Thus the psychology includes every aspect of human lives and every type of human relations. So medical psychology focuses on disorders related to the mind. The medical person trained for that medical psychology related things is called as psychiatrist. So there are difference between psychiatrists, psychotherapists, psychiatric counselors, psychologists. So different concepts are there. Minute difference will be there, but the medical psychology majorly focus with the mind disorders of mind. That is the broader meaning of this medical psychology. But we are interested in the educational psychology now. So if you apply this psychology in the education system, it is educational psychology. Education psychology is interested in learning, teaching learning processes, development of the learning, cognitive brain development, their emotions development, behavior development, everything. So these concepts also comes under the educational psychology. In education psychology, we more focus on the behavior development, teaching, learning, what are the characteristics of adult learners, so based on that only we are doing the different teaching methods. So based on this psychology, what is the psychology is means what is the behavior and personality in the adult age. Based on that only we are making the strategies of teaching methods. We already learned that adult characteristic, adolescent characteristic. What are that things? That is nothing but psychology only. The adolescents are like these, adults are mature one. They can study, self-study. What are these things? See, these things are nothing but the psychology only. Their behavior and personality, they are characteristics indicating their psychology only. So that's why major of concepts in the education is based on the psychology. If you know the psychology, you will understand most of the concept in the education, because number of concept given in the education system or derived in the education system is based on psychology only. Number of psychological scientists given the concepts in the education. अगर आपने कंडीशनिंग theory, अलग अलग theories, number of scientists दिया ना educational context में, the major of them are physiologists and psychologists. Their contribution is more in the developing educational system. So dynamics of behavior. The main concern of psychology is to study human behavior. Human behavior is the result of physical and mental factors, body and mind. See this sentence. The behavior is a result of physical and mental factors, not a single mental factor. Based on mental factor only, not behavior will be there. It is based on both physical and mental factors, body and mind interacting in a complicated ways. Both physical and mental factors will interact, and that will become the particular behavior. So that's why the behavior is a mixing interaction of these physical and mental factors. The behavior is the total reaction of an individual accessible to external observation. So the behavior can be total reaction of an individual. It is accessible to the external observation. We can see that behavior. That is the meaning of this external observation. Thought and understanding are implicit behavior. Thought and understanding means what you are thinking. Your thought and your understanding are implicit behavior, means we cannot see these things, thought and understanding, directly, which are observable not directly. Not directly, we don't observe directly these type of thoughts and understanding, but we can infer based on the observable behaviors. Based on observable behaviors, we can assume that what that person is thinking, what that person is understanding. So even though we are not directly seeing the thought and understanding, we can infer from the observable behavior. समझ में आ गया आपको what is the meaning of this dynamics of behavior? Any behavior is composed, it is because of interaction of both physical and mental factors. Not only mental factors, both body and mind interact in the complex way, the behavior is produced. It can be external observation behavior. Some things like thought and understanding are implicit behavior. These also पर्सन का थॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमको implicit behavior इसलिए कह रहे हैं, they cannot be used observed directly. Based on observable behavior, we can infer what he is thinking, what is he understanding. कभी कभी होते हैं ना, बच्चे को क्लास में हम समझ में आ गए, समझ नहीं आ गए पूछे तो they will not tell, they will sit as they understood, but based on their behavior, based on seeing their behavior, we can understood whether they understand or not. They are not telling openly, we are not understand, but seeing their behavior, their things, we can infer that the students are understand or not. It is psychology. The teacher, if the student psychology pata hua teacher ko, then he can understand the what is the stage of that students, whether he is able to understanding or not. Because sometimes thought and understanding are not directly observable. Based on these observable behaviors, we can infer these things. So overall, behavior is a dynamics of behavior, means the changing of this behavior pattern. So behavior is changing, not constant minute, because every time the physical and mental factors are different at different times. So that is the dynamics of behavior. समझ में आ गया why it is important dynamics of behavior? अगर आप कुछ simple things बताया क्लास में, the behavior or is different in the students. If you are telling very complex things, then the behavior is different. That is dynamics. The behavior will changes. It is not statics. Dynamic behavior is a dynamic. The broad categories of factors that influence individual and community health behavior includes a behavior, number of factors which influence the individual and community behavior. What are the factors? Knowledge, knowledge of the individual, belief of the individual's values, attitudes, skills, financial status, time and influence of family members, friends, co-workers, opinion leaders, and even health workers themselves. So these are factors which influencing the behavior. Whether it behavior is depends on the knowledge of the person. Based on his knowledge, the behavior changes. Based on his belief, the behavior may change. Based on values, the behavior is change. Based on attitudes, the behavior will different. Based on skills, behavior is different. So based on financial status, the behavior will change. So one of the definition in teaching, we learn that the teaching will changes the knowledge, skill, and ultimate change of the behavior. हमने स्टडी किया था नहीं किया था, एक डेफिनेशन हमने पढ़ा है ना हम टीचिंग एप्टीट्यूड में किधर, चेंज इन द बिहेवियर. ये बिहेवियर वर्ड हमने सुना है या नहीं सुना है इन प्रीवियस क्लासेस? चेंज इन द बिहेवियर लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव में, चेंज इन द बिहेवियर, इट इज द वन ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्टिव इन whether we studied or not. Hello? The teaching will change, helps in the changing the behavior. अगर आप प्रीवियस क्लास में रिकॉर्डिंग और मटेरियल देखा जाए तो आपको बिहेवियर का बारे में बहुत सारे बार बोला गया है व्हाट इज बिहेवियर, बट व्हाट इज एक्चुअली बिहेवियर, व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स they are affecting for behavior or these knowledge, beliefs, values, attitudes, and everything. So in education we will focus on knowledge. We are giving knowledge and other things. By teaching, the behavioral changes will be happen. So it not only knowledge, it also depends on this type of factors, attitudes, beliefs, time, everything will influence the behavior. This is general concept behavior का. समझ में आ गया आपको बिहेवियर क्या है? हेलो?
Yes, sir.
So just for example understanding, here we are studying the behavior in the context of health. That's why they are explaining the health behavior. So for example illness के होने के बाद कैसे बिहेव करते people, मुझे बुखार है, मेरा बिहेवियर कैसे रहते? So that is illness behavior. And treatment behavior, after the giving the treatment, how people behavior will change. अगर patient बहुत पेन से दर्द हो रहा है patient को, if you give treatment then the patient is cured, then what is the behavior? The behavior will changes from illness to treatment behavior. They will happy. So that is the behavior. If you teach any concept to the student before classroom and after classroom, see their behavior. Today we learned something new, the behavior will changes. The same concept we can apply in the education also. अगर बच्चों को आज क्लास में what is definition of health पता नहीं था, after the class if they are able to tell definition of health, physical, mental, social dimension, like that, if they learn that concept, the change in behavior we can see. So knowledge is influencing the change in the behavior. होता या नहीं होता है behavior change थोड़ा knowledge जाने पे? Attitude and other things are different. We are studying behavior, attitudes, everything comes under here only, but what are the attitudes we will learn in the later on. But change in the behavior is a broader term. We have to remember, under the behavior only that other things will come. Change in the behavior. So all forms of behavior are responses to stimuli. Stimuli and response. Stimuli and response. We learned in the one of the concept. Stimuli and response हमने study किया ना? Stimulus and response in previous class. Stimulus may be the teacher, stimulus may be the particular thing, material, whatever may be the stimulus, it should able to generate the response, then only we call it as a stimulus. Teaching learning will happens by the stimulus and response manner. This concept we learned in the previous class. Whether you remember, Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here also the same concept. All forms of behaviors are response to stimuli. Stimuli को response देते हैं ना, that is the behavior. All forms of behavior are response to stimuli. So particular response आ रहे हैं, that is the because of stimuli. For example, class में same example, class में before class बच्चों का बिहेवियर अलग था. अगर मैंने कुछ सिखा लिया उनको, हाउ टू गिव दी or how to examine or how to give particular medicine or how to give treatment, ये सिखा दिया. So change in behavioral happens. Here the my teaching comes, we can consider as a stimuli. That stimuli is changing the behavior in the students. The behavior what changed in the students is response. So all forms of behaviors are responses to the stimuli. So learning will happen only there is a stimuli. This concept we learned already in the previous classes. Without stimuli, no learning will happen. Learning stimuli may be teaching or motivation or anything, any person. Without stimulation, the learning will not happen. This concept we learned. This concept come from this concept only, the psychology concept, that is behavior. So from this concept they have taken the in education. Every learner will learn everything. Learning happens by stimuli. ये स्टडी किया था नहीं किया था हमने, स्टिमुलस होना चाहिए लर्निंग के लिए बोल के. सो वो कॉन्सेप्ट किधर से आ गया? फ्रॉम साइकोलॉजी. दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ बिहेवियर और रिस्पॉन्स टू स्टिमुलाई, दिस कॉन्सेप्ट को डायरेक्टली वो एजुकेशन में अप्लाई किया. सो ऑल टाइप ऑफ learning will happens only with stimuli. That time what we study, stimuli means teaching, stimuli means motivation or any person, anything that will generate the response. In that time we learned response is learning. So ultimately the learning will changes the behavior. So all that concept are depend on this psychology only, that is behavior. Change in the behavior will happen. समझ में आ गया? आपका लिंक पता चल रहा है क्या है साइकोलॉजी एंड एजुकेशन का?
Yes, sir.
आपको लिंक हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है ये कॉन्सेप्ट? हेलो?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल इधर देखो, चाइल्ड सीज ए डॉग rushing towards him and start running away. The dog is stimuli here and running away is response. That is change of behavior or not? The sight of dog rushing towards him is a stimulus and running away is a response. So that is a behavior. All forms of behavior, that is response will called as behaviors. So here response is change in the behavior. The child will behave different after seeing that dog. Then understand behavior, we must find out the causes of stimuli. What are the causes for stimuli? Stimulus चाहिए response के लिए, change in behavior होने के लिए. So what are the stimuluses? Stimuli may be in education में हम पढ़ाई किया था, whether it may be self interest, whether it may be object, whether it may be environment. If good environment is there, that is also stimulus for learning. So we see the causes for stimulus. The goal of psychology is find the relation that exists between stimulus and responses. The whole these two sentences explain the educational principle. Psychology, based on this psychological principle only, the educational things are analyzed. Stimuli and response should be there. So stimuli is in a broader sense. There we take classroom, environment, teacher, teaching aids, anything you can take as a stimuli, and response is learning outcome or change in the behavior. In broader sense, if you are speaking, that change in the behavior. In educational context, we learn it as a learning, whether he learned or not. That is the response. Then responses. This is also important concept. Responses. The various responses may be classified as follows. There's various responses: physical responses, habits and skills; organic responses, emotion, feeling, tension; intellectual responses, perception and thinking. Are you able to understand these various responses? अगर आप एक स्टिमुलाई दिया है, then the response is in the various forms. It may be physical response, it may be organic response, it may be intellectual response. So the response will happens in the these type. So this is the response. It may be physical level, organic level, emotion, feeling, tension, then intellectual, and this. For example, if you teach the how to do the suturing, suturing कैसे करना है आपने सीख दिया. That is the stimulus. Response happened in the physical response. That is skills change हुआ उनका. स्किल्स में बदलाव आ गए ना वो स्टूडेंट्स का. दैट इज द रेस्पॉन्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फिजिकल रेस्पॉन्स. अगर आपने कुछ मॉरल्स और स्टोरी बता दिया, सो टोबैको खाने से क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम होता है, टोबैको हाउ इट इज इंजूरियस टू हेल्थ. सो टोबैको खाने वाले स्टूडेंट्स टोबैको खाने का छोड़ दिया, देन इट चेंजेस इन द फिजिकल रेस्पॉन्सेस. दैट इज चेंज इन द हैबिट ऑफ क्विटिंग द च्यूइंग द. टोबैको को खाने का छोड़ दिया. If you give that strong stimulus, if you effectively give this stimulus, then response will be they will change their habit. Then if you give the stimulus, if you scored the students in the classroom, अगर कुछ बच्चों को जोर से बोल दिया कुछ काम के लिए और कुछ, then the changes in the responses in the organic responses, emotions, feeling, बच्चे कभी कभी रोते हैं, changes in the organic response. They have categorized the responses in the various categories, that is physical, organic, and this is concepts, purely concept they have given. So this level में response हो जाते हैं. Whether you are able to understanding or not, we are moving general to specific. पहले क्या स्टडी किया हमने, स्टिमुलस से response होता है. Response is a form of behavior, nothing but behavior change. So response, various response may be classified. How we can response को classify कर सकते, physical, organic. So we are going general to deeper level. समझ में आ रहा है आपको responses का levels क्या है ये? Various type of responses, physical. अगर आपको कोई बुक आप पढ़ रहे हैं अभी एजुकेशन साइकोलॉजी में, the stimulus or teaching should be in the way that it should be changes the physical response. So अगर ऐसा लिखे तो आपको क्या समझना है, टीचिंग ऐसा करना है, फिजिकल रेस्पॉन्सेस और फिजिकल बिहेवियर में चेंज होना है, और it the teaching should increase the intellectual response, means the perception, thinking, reasoning capacity change होना चाहिए, that particular stimulus. That is the concept. So different types of stimulus we learn now. So environment stimulus. First one is environment stimulus. Example: sight, smell, touch, etc. Reach the cerebral cortex through nerve impulse. Then the information perceived and assembled and evaluated by another set of impulses. The cerebral cortex orders the behavior of an individual. This is known as conscious behavior. So अगर आप conscious behavior means क्या है, एनवायरमेंटल स्टिमुलाई रहते हैं. एग्जांपल साइट, स्मेल, टच एक्सेट्रा से आपको स्टिमुलाई मिलता है ब्रेन को. देन द इंपल्सेस विल बी जनरेट एंड दैट विल लीड्स टू द behavior of an individual. This type of behavior is known as conscious behavior. It is the behavior determined by the standard expectation of the society. Example: professional behavior of doctor with patient. This accounts for the variation in the person behavior in the different situation. एनवायरमेंट मतलब क्या है, इधर अगर डॉक्टर होने के बाद डॉक्टर हॉस्पिटल एनवायरमेंट ने हमने कैसे होना चाहिए, दैट इज द stimuli. Then according to that we will behave with patients. That is the doctor patient relationship. That is the conscious behavior. When patient आते हो तब हमारा behavior change होता है. हम फ्रेंड्स के साथ कैसे रहते हैं वैसे पेशेंट्स के साथ बात नहीं करते हो, थोड़ा बिहेवियर चेंज होता है. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज कॉन्शियस बिहेवियर. Then emotions and feeling. Behavior is also depend on the our feelings and emotions. These stimuli arise from the within the body. When we say a person is blind with a rage of or paralyzed with fear, we mean that he is a victim of captive of his own emotions. Sometimes inner emotions feeling will blind the person. So that type of time also these emotions feeling also will influence on the behavior. That's why the behavior is also depend on the these feelings and emotions. So for example, the emotions does affect our behavior. The seat of primary emotions, anger, joy, hunger, these type of emotions will affect the our behavior. Because when these anger, joy, this type of emotions are their inner emotions, then they will influence the cerebral cortex. Then when the influence of cerebral cortex is removed, for example in the injury, this is a physical example. By if you any injury to the cerebral cortex, that will leads to the change in the behavior. But here not really the cerebral cortex is not injured, but because of our emotions, these emotions, the cerebral cortex is blocked. Then also we change these internal emotions, our internets, our own feelings only makes the changes in the behavior. That is the concept. That it means the emotions or feelings are so much strong, so they can mask this control of the cerebral cortex by innerly without external injury. Also, these type of changes in the behavior happens because of these emotions and feeling. If you read this sentence, you can understand by your own, because I may explain in different type. You can understand somewhat, but if you read this text individually, you are able to understand, because understanding level is different. ये पैराग्राफ पढ़ने से मैं कितना समझ सकता हूँ, you can you can understand better than me also. So just I am giving the idea what is the these things. Emotions and feelings are the stimuli for the response, that is change in the behavior. That is the concept. He is a victim of captive of his own emotions. So thus emotions affect our behavior. Then needs. It is important. Individual behavior is also influenced by his needs. Needs, wants, desire, urges are used synonymously. Based on needs also our behavior changes. Why we are studying this much in detail of behavior? Because we study, if you know the in detail about psychology behavior, then only we can apply that concept in the education. And motivation is a inner force which drives individual to certain action. It is also determines human behavior. Without motivation, behavioral changes cannot take place. एजुकेशन में एक प्रिंसिपल ऑफ टीचिंग में हमने पढ़ा है, मोटिवेशन शुड बी गिवन बाय टीचर्स. So motivation, inner motivation should be there. That will also changes the human behavior. Then intellectual perception. The intellectual perception, thinking, reasoning can also influence the behavior in a given situation. For a particular situation, some people are very कोई कोई फंक्शन में रहते हैं ना, बहुत लोग बहुत सीरियस रहते हैं, बहुत चुप बैठते हैं, बहुत लोग का उनका बिहेवियर अलग रहते हैं. इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द पर्सनल person's perception, how they are taking that event. That is the intellectual perception. Making adjustment. So behavior is also described as a adjustment to meet the needs of a given situation. For example, when a person does not succeed in something, there are several ways he or she can treat it. Behavior को adjustment भी कह सकते हैं. Making an adjustment to meet the needs of given situation. अगर मैंने कुछ काम के लिए अप्लाई किया, अगर नहीं हुआ, so we will make the adjustment according to our condition. We will make the adjustment. That is also behavior. Losing temper and it may be अगर हमने कुछ करके succeed नहीं हुआ, so the behavior may be changes. He or she can react losing temper or complaining to everyone. अगर मुझे कुछ गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज मिलना था, अगर आई वांट टू डू समथिंग बट आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू दैट, तब कैसे बिहेव करते हैं वन पर्सन? जल्दी गुस्सा होता है, करते ना बच्चों को क्या चाहिए वो नहीं दिया तो बच्चे क्या करते? टेम्पर ये करते, कंप्लेंट, मुझे खाना नहीं जा रहा. सो लाइक दैट द बिहेवियर में चेंजेस व्हेन द पर्सन not succeed in something, then he may lose temper and complaining to everyone. वो एवरी चीज के लिए कंप्लेन करते हैं, खाना ठीक नहीं है, हॉस्टल ठीक नहीं है, मेस ठीक नहीं है, कॉलेज ठीक नहीं है, टीचर ठीक नहीं है. So when he is not succeed in something, there are several ways. It is also one of the way. And some people isolating oneself simply and avoiding facing others, or if he is not succeed in that particular thing, then he himself isolate, अकेला रहता है. We will avoid the other persons, अकेला रहता है. So this type of behavior changes will also happen if anyone fails or anyone not succeed in the something. Then making excuses for failure and accepting failure with good grace and making amends by changing behavior and otherwise. This is positive change in the behavior. Accepting the failure, if he not succeed, he may accept failure and with good grace and making amends by changing its behavior. Some people will behave like this, some people will behave like this. It's all depends on that particular persons. The adjustment is both active and passive. That's why some people blow hot and cold to suit their physical and social environment. Means it may be negative, it may be positive. अगर मैंने कुछ fail हुआ, so I can do better, do in next time. I can behave like this also, I can behave like this also. This all depends on stimulus, environment, motivation, कौन सा condition में, so everything will depends. So this is the why this is important. अगर बच्चे फेल हो गए एग्जाम, उनका बिहेवियर चेंज होता है. इफ ही नॉट सक्सीड इन पासिंग द एग्जाम, ही मे लूज टेम्पर, ही मे कंप्लेन, क्लास में क्या बोला है टीचर ने मुझे समझ में नहीं आ गया, ऐसा बोल सकते. देन ही मे कोई बच्चा रहते हैं, अगर वो लोग फेल हो गया, आइसोलेट हो गया, वो किसी के उनका बैचमेट के साथ मिलता नहीं, दे विल गो फॉर डिफरेंट बिहेवियर. एंड मेकिंग एक्सक्यूज फॉर फेल्योर, मुझे आराम नहीं था और मुझे कुछ प्रॉब्लम था, कुछ रीजन बता के भी उनका फेलियर के बारे में एक्सक्यूज ले सकते हैं. एंड अदर स्टूडेंट्स आर लर्नर्स आर देयर एक्सेप्टिंग द फेलियर एंड दे विल मेक बेटर by changing their behavior in the positive way. These concepts match with the educational system. That's why it is important to understand this behavior. समझ में आ गया why we are studying this, even though it is not in the direct. If you understand this concept, you can directly apply in the education, that is teaching learning situations. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? Hello? Okay. So next one is unconscious behavior. There is a also behavior of which individual is not conscious. For example, 10 people witness an accident, we get 10 conflict reports of accident. This is because of certain forces, example perceptions, prejudices and notions which color the incidents over which the individual has no control. Another example is some people forget important things because they are unpleasant and remain happily unconscious about them. क्या है इसका मीनिंग? अनकॉन्शियस बिहेवियर. सडनली आप कुछ एक्सीडेंट देख लिया, कुछ मर्डर देख लिया, सो 10 लोगों ने 10 तरह से बताते हैं वो एक्सीडेंट में, ये बाइक वाले का गलती था, एक आदमी बोलता है, एक आदमी बोलता है कार वाले का गलती था, कोई बोलता है ये दूसरा आदमी पार्किंग गलत से किया था और बाइक वाले नहीं देख रहा था. सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन his perception, prejudice and notions. Certain forces will influence for this behavior. अगर अपने एक्सीडेंट होने के जगह में 4-5 लोगों को पूछो, everyone will tell differently. बाइक वाला का गलती सर, कार वाले का गलती, कार वाला स्लो आ रहा था, बाइक वाला ही रॉन्ग आ गया, कोई को बोलते कार वाला देखा नहीं. So it all depends. That is unconscious behavior. Because of the perception will different, prejudice will different. Prejudice means some persons always think that the car persons are wrong, car wale hi galti karta hai. So this type of prejudices, perceptions will influences the this type of behavior. That one we called as unconscious. Unconsciously we are forget something. और एक्सीडेंट होने के थोड़ी देर के बाद आपको कौन फर्स्ट एक्सीडेंट किया है, किसको कौन टच किया है, सर्टन थिंग्स we will not remember because that particular time of event we will lose unconsciously our अनकॉन्शियस रहते हैं हम. अगर कोई मर्डर हमने देखा, वो दैट पर्टिकुलर इंस्टेंट में सर्टन थिंग्स वी विल नॉट रिमेम्बर, सो वी विल फेल टू कंट्रोल दैट कॉन्शियस. दैट इज द वो दिमाग नहीं रहते हमारा माइंड. दैट इज द अनकॉन्शियस बिहेवियर. एग्जांपल है, पीपल फॉरगेट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स बिकॉज दे आर अनप्लीजेंट. बिकॉज मर्डर देखने के टाइम हमको अनप्लीजेंट रहते हैं, तो सर्टन थिंग्स वी विल नॉट रिमेम्बर. हाउ, अगर कोर्ट में बुलाया, बताए कैसे, बताओ कैसे हो गया मर्डर, डिटेल बाय डिटेल हमको बोलने को नहीं होता है. बिकॉज वी आर अनप्लीजेंट, वी कैन आल्सो forget some important things of that particular event. This is happens because of unconscious behavior. That is the concept of unconscious behavior. During that particular event you may in unpleasant or you may happy, then also you will not remember certain things. अगर कोई ने कुछ जोक किया, कुछ तो फ्रेंड्स के साथ मिलने के टाइम अगर कुछ एकदम एक सडन जोक हो गया, ये कैसे स्टार्ट हुए, सडनली ऑल ऑफ अस विल लाफ एंड आफ्टर कैसे हुआ था, क्या हो गया था, आप सोचते. बिकॉज एट अ टाइम वी आर most happy, unconsciously we are happy, then also certain things we will not remember. That is the unconscious behavior. बिकॉज वो टाइम पे हम अनप्लीजेंट रहते और हैप्पीली रहते विदाउट अवर कॉन्शियस, अनकॉन्शियस. दैट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट. Then emotions, but it all depends on these things, perception, how the person will perceive these things. So this is the unconscious behavior. क्लास में होता है ना, क्लास में कोई बच्चों का कुछ झगड़ा हुआ रहता है, अगर 10 बच्चों को पूछो तो किसका गलती है, तो उनका है, इनका है, वो ऐसा किया इसलिए ऐसा किया. सो दिस टाइप ऑफ behavior we called as unconscious behavior. So next, emotions. Emotion is a strong feeling of the whole organism. Emotions motive human behavior. So an emotional experience is characterized by both external and internal changes in the human being. External changes are those which are apparent and easily seen by others, such as change in the facial expression, changes in the posture. Studying the facial expression, we can find out if a person is angry, happy, depressed, elevated. Internal changes brought about by emotions are psychological, such as rapid pulse, perspiration, increased blood pressure, tension, pain. Usually these changes are temporary and subside when individual returns to the normal. What are the emotions? These are the feelings, strong feelings of organism. Whole organism means every whole person, whole thing will be involved in the emotions. So emotions motivate the human behavior. So that may be external and internal. Externally we can see the expression, his posture. Based on that we can judge his emotions. Sometimes the internal emotions, psychological, that is अगर बोल नहीं सकते उनका emotions, वो express नहीं कर सकते, but उनका respiration, blood pressure, ये सारे बढ़ जाते, tension, pain. These are internal changes that reflect the change in the emotions. These are temporary. अगर after the individual returns to normal, these will reverse. These emotions will reverse. So some major emotions are fear, anger, love, hate, jealous, moodiness, joy, sorrow, sympathy. These all are major emotions. समझ में आ गया ये आपको क्या है emotions का? हेलो हेलो.
Yes, sir.
scientists have proved that emotions can be major barrier to the communication. So these emotions can major barrier for the communication. So you will learn in the communication chapter, education and communication, the barriers of communication. Then this point will help to you understand. So what are the emotions? अगर बच्चे fear में है, communication he will not learn properly. This is fear is a barrier for communication. Communication is in general broad term. In the one of the definition we learned that teaching learning is a communication between communication word in the initial definitions में हमने पढ़ाई किया है. Teaching learning without communication नहीं होता है. So one of the barrier to this communication is fear. अगर बच्चे learner fear में है, anger में है, so hate में है, then the communication will not barrier to the communication. Then jealous, moodiness, joy, sorrow, sympathy. In one of the point we learned that we should not show the sympathy, we should show the what? टीचर सिंपैथी नहीं दिखाना है बच्चों को. व्हाट शुड ही स्टडी किया था? ही शुड क्यों दी whether you learned or not, one of the class, सिंपैथी नहीं दिखाना है बच्चों को, एम्पैथी दिखाना है. रिमेम्बर और नॉट?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's why sympathy is barrier to communication. So that's why one of the point we learned that don't show the sympathy, show the empathy. So these are the major emotions that will barrier for the communication, or you can take in the context of these are the barriers for the teaching learning process. Indirectly these concepts are also helping us to the education, understanding the education. This is the concept of psychology. If you apply these concept in the education, that is teaching learning, आपका teaching में apply किया तो that is educational psychology. So it is mixing of applying the psychological concept in the educational field, nothing more than that. Next, the doctor should be able to understand the emotions of patients once emotional barriers are broken down. Mutual trust between the patient and the doctors develop, the patient will begin to talk more freely about himself. This is the basis of doctor-patient relationship. The desirable qualities of doctors are cheerfulness and an even temperament, moodiness, emotional instability, and getting easily upset or undesirable qualities. अगर डॉक्टर पेशेंट रिलेशन अच्छा होना है तो डिजायरेबल क्वालिटीज क्या होना चाहिए? चेयरफुलनेस एंड इवन टेम्परमेंट होना चाहिए. मूडीनेस, इमोशनल इंस्टेबिलिटी, इजीली अपसेट होने वाला डॉक्टर के साथ पेशेंट का रिलेशनशिप अच्छा नहीं होता है. पेशेंट रिलेशनशिप के लिए दिस आर द डिजायरेबल क्वालिटी, दैट इज चेयरफुलनेस एंड इवन टेम्परमेंट. पेशेंट रहते हैं ना, 10 बार बोलते हैं वही बोला हुआ चीजों को ही बोलते हैं. अगर मेडिसिन खाना खाने के बाद 2 टाइम ले लो बोले तो फिर बाहर जाके फिर आके पूछते खाना खाने के बाद कौन सा खाना खाना है, कैसे खाना है. सो देन द टेम्परमेंट शुड नॉट बी लूज. 10 बार पूछे तो भी हम 10 बार बोलना है. समझ में नहीं आए तो पेशेंट फिर को समझाना है. देन ओनली द डॉक्टर पेशेंट रिलेशनशिप विल बी बिल्ड अप. अगर इमोशनली इंस्टेबिलिटी इज देयर, अगर पेशेंट बार बार बोल रहे, उनका डाउट को पूछ रहे, इफ यू लूज द टेम्पर, देन इट इज विल नॉट हेल्पफुल फॉर द build the doctor-patient relationship. That's why his behavior, doctor behavior, will influencing the doctor-patient relationship. In education also, the teacher behavior is influencing the teacher-student relationship. So अगर बच्चे कुछ questions doubt पूछ रहे, if you lose the temper, कितना बार बोलना है आपको, ऐसे बोले तो that will not build the good relationship. That's why these concepts we can also apply in the education. That is the thing. Some specific emotions, for example, fear. What is the fear? Fear is the common fear is the most common emotion of man. It may produce excitement or depression. Fear से excitement and depression हो सकता है. Flight or fight. Some of common fears of man are fear of dark, fear of dog, fear of snakes, fear of ghost, fear of sickness, fear of death. These are the common emotions of man. ये हर एक आदमी को कॉमन रहता है. डार्क, अंधेरा देखे तो डर आता है, स्नेक देखे तो. these are inherited or commonly observed fear. Fear of death. हर किसी को डेथ का एक भय रहता है, मृत्यु का भय रहता है, क्योंकि अगर मुझे कुछ हुआ तो मेरा फैमिली का क्या. सो दिस टाइप ऑफ फियर आर कॉमन इन दी कॉमन इमोशन. अगर ये फियर become exaggerated, unnecessary, it is called phobia. So fear is a common emotion. If it is aggregated, then it is called as phobia. So fear of death is common. अगर मुझे भी कुछ ना कुछ हो सकता है ये, that is the fear. But unnecessarily every time I am fearing for death, then it will lead to the phobia. So that is the concept of phobia and fear. Fear होना चाहिए, टीचर का fear होना चाहिए. सो अगर अननेसेसरीली एग्रीवेटेड फियर हो गए तो दैट विल लीड्स टू द टीचर फोबिया. टीचर को देखते ही बच्चे डरते. डरना जरूरी है, लेकिन कितना चाहिए उतना ही डरना है. सो एग्रीवेट हुआ, अननेसेसरी द फियर क्रिएट हुआ, तो दैट वन वी कॉल्ड एज ए फोबिया. सो दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन फियर एंड फोबिया. बच्चों को टीचर का फियर होना चाहिए, नॉट फोबिया. दैट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट. सच फियर्स आर कॉमन इन पेशेंट्स विथ मेंटल डिसीज. मेंटल डिसीज में क्या होता है, these common fears are converted as phobia. So that is the thing. Mentally disorder क्यों कहते हैं हम? मुझे भी डर है डार्क का, मुझे भी फियर है डॉग्स का, मुझे भी फियर है स्नेक का, बट एवरी टाइम अननेसेसरी विदाउट स्नेक आल्सो, विदाउट दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग आल्सो, इफ स्नेक बहुत दूर रहते फिर भी उसको देख के मैं ज्यादा फियर हो रहे हैं, अननेसेसरी फियर हो रहे हैं, देन दैट इज कॉल्ड एज फोबिया. समझ में आ गया आपको फियर एंड फोबिया?
Yes,
But
sir.
important in education also. Then anger or rage is another basic emotion of man. It is a reaction of the offensive type. Anger is a destructive force. It is not controlled. It may impel a person, even commit a murder. So anger is also normal one, but if it is not controlled, it is dangerous. It is a offensive type. That is the concept of anger. But then anxiety may manifest in such symptoms as rapid pulse, breathing, flushing, tremor, sweating, dry mouth, nausea, diarrhea, raised blood pressure, etc. Patient admit to hospitals are anxious. Anxiety leads to this tension, tension leads to the pain. Some of the headaches are in OPD always tension pain. कुछ में भी नहीं रहते, उनका एंजाइटी रहता है, फैमिली का कुछ प्रॉब्लम रहता है, they will come to the hospital because of this anxiety. Anxiety leads to the tension, tension leads to the pain. The doctor must understand the patient's anxiety and give him assurance. अगर टेंशन पेन है, आप उनको अगर आपने एक अच्छे बात किया, उनको समझाया उनका कंडीशन, and then the patient will be relieved. If you give assurance, it is then the patient will relieve. So any kind of word from doctor or nurse works like a magic, gives the patient considerable relief from the mental anxiety. So most of the cases come to the OPDR due to the anxiety. If you clear the his doubts, and if you give this some suggestion, kind words, then if anxiety is removed, then the pain or disease will be removed. That is the, so you can apply this concept in the education also. एजुकेशन में क्या होता है, एग्जाम आता ही एंजाइटी चालू होते बच्चों का, ये सारे चीजें, ब्रीथिंग, फ्लशिंग, डायरिया, फीवर, सारे बीमारी शुरू होते बच्चों में. देन द स्टूडेंट्स कम टू यू. आप डॉक्टर भी है, आपका ओपीडी है प्राइवेट, देन सर 2 दिन में एग्जाम है, इनको फीवर आ गया है, डायरिया हो रहा है, प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस इज बिकॉज ऑफ एंजाइटी ऑफ exam, if you reassure, if you give this some words, if you then the anxiety will be removed, then the disease will be automatically cured. So you have to keep in mind that anxiety in the students will not useful. Anxiety remove करना है, exam anxiety हो कुछ भी related to learners. It is also applicable in the education also. Love is feeling of attachment of some person. It is a basic emotion of love. Means it is a form of attachment to one another. That is the love. So basic, mother children, father children, husband wife. So love का different form होता है, but it is a basic emotion of man, human को. So that is the love. अगर हमको स्टूडेंट्स और टीचर का बीच में भी लव होना चाहिए. सो इट इज ए अटैचमेंट, ये हमारा स्टूडेंट्स है, ये हमारा टीचर है. So that type of feeling should be there. That one we called as love. So We should love our patients means we should have some attachment. If anything goes to the aggravate, then it is not good. That is the concept. It will depends on the context and situation. Then control of emotions. Next concept is control of emotion. Emotions को control कैसे करना है, adjust कैसे करना है. A well adjusted and mentally healthy person is one who is able to keep his emotions under control. Emotions को under control करता है. कितना बच्चों को लव करना है, कितना प्यार दिखाना है, उतना ही करना है. कंट्रोल में रखने के लिए the healthy person is able to control the emotions. One should be carried by one's emotion. Children should be show love, appreciate so that they may grow in the emotional maturity. For adults, happy family life, basic emotional adjustment, patients who are anxious need assurance, fear must be alloyed. Those. So what is the concept behind this? We have to control emotions. So you have to in the classroom emotions को हमको control करना है. बहुत गुस्सा आ गया हमको. So then you have to control in the that situation. अगर control नहीं किया, so that will lead to the problem. So control of emotions will be needed in teacher also. कभी कभी बच्चे इतना ये करते हैं आपको पूरा गुस्सा आते. So अगर आप that time control नहीं किए emotion, that will lead to the other type of. अगर बच्चों को आपने मार दिया, कुछ हो गया, so control of emotions. अगर कुछ ज्यादा ही बोल दिया, so emotions control करना है, that is the important. So controlling one's emotions, habits, ये कैसे कंट्रोल करना है. बच्चों को भी बोल सकते हैं उनका emotions को कैसे कंट्रोल करना है. These concept will help in the education and personal and health field में आ जाता है. हम develop a sense of humor. Study of psychology helps to understand the basis of emotion and need to keep the emotion under the control. कभी कभी क्या होते हैं, बच्चों को प्रैक्टिकल लिया रहते हैं. कभी कौन 2-3 बच्चे रहते हैं, दे विल टेकन ग्रांटेड, वो हमारे ऊपर ही मजाक उड़ाते हैं. दैट टाइम इतना गुस्सा आते, कुछ बच्चों को हम पनिश दो, कुछ मार, वैसे emotion आते, because suddenly they are joking or insult. In the way of insulting, they will tell something, then the anger will be happen in the us. Then we should control by developing a sense of humor. If you make the joke of that things, then it will be settled down easily. That is the thing. Develop a sense of humor. ज्यादा sense control करने के लिए हमको a sense of humor भी होना चाहिए. That is the study of psychology helps the understand basis of emotions and that the emotions are kept under the control. Then motivation. So from now you will read this motivation, and it is not needed in incentive. Observation, opinion, beliefs, interest, learning, attitudes, conditions of learning. All of you types of learning, we are already in Bloom's taxonomy. We learned cognitive, affective, psychomotor, so habit formation. So conflicts, component of personality, and these things needed for understanding the education psychology in detail. So today I will stop here. Please go through this chapter in the K part. If you read this textbook, it is very easy to understand the educational psychology. अगर आप ये चैप्टर में ये हाईलाइट किए हुए पॉइंट्स, अगर आपने नेक्स्ट क्लास आने तक टाइप्स ऑफ लर्निंग ये सारे चीजें आपने पढ़ के आया तो आपको अभी समझ में भी आते, बिकॉज वी हैव लिसन्ड क्लास. अगर थोड़े थोड़े कॉन्सेप्ट आपको पता है, सो यू कैन इजीली अंडरस्टैंड बाय द सेल्फ रीडिंग आल्सो. We can also discuss in the next class also. this learning and this IQ. What is IQ? Intelligent quotient, development of personality. One of the theory, that is Piaget's theory, what they have given in the this theory of cognitive development. So social and moral development, these all depend on the this basic psychology concept. Development of personality, preschool में क्या रहते हैं, school age में क्या रहता है, so adolescent में क्या रहते हैं. So all these concepts have basis to understand the educational psychology. So thinking, intelligent quotient, attitude. So up to this, you have to read. Social psychology you should not read. So this up to this, it is related to us. If you read this concept, it is directly connected with the education psychology. समझ में आ गया आपको? I will share this PDF in group. This textbook I will share. Please go through this chapter. Chapter name is Social Science, Medicine and Social Science. 782 पेज नंबर से शुरू होता है. So please go through this chapter. You will understand this psychology very well. अगर psychology का स्पेसिफिक बुक का पढ़ा रहे, दूसरा सब्जेक्ट पढ़ रहे, तो दूसरा बुक से पढ़ रहे, you will not understand because we don't know that things. We should know from one of the maxims. Study teaching maxims में क्या बताया है? What are the teaching maxims? We should go from known to unknown. स्टडी किया था नहीं किया था? ये known to unknown जाना है one of the teaching maxims में. These things are known to us. These chapters, this subject is known to us. By studying this, we are going to unknown, that is educational psychology. From knowing this psychology, this psychology chapter, we are going to the educational psychology. This is the one of the maxims. Teaching maxims में बताया था ना, क्या पता है उससे हमने क्या पता नहीं है उसको समझना चाहिए. So मुझे पता है ये social science, psychology related to health. So by knowing this, we are explaining the unknowing this, or we are applying this concept in the educational psychology. So today, any doubt? अगर आप नहीं पढ़ाई किए तो दिस चैप्टर यू विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड. अगर कोई भी बुक और नोट्स आप ऑनलाइन